50% of premature births have no known cause. Meet a mother who understands the significance of that statistic. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on the March of Dimes, Walk America. And we're visiting with Jennifer Bullard, the mother of the ambassador babies for the Loris Walk America this year. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hey, how are you doing?
Thanks so much for coming in.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Very exciting to recognize what's about to happen on April 23rd up in Loris as the whole community. A lot of folks are traveling in from all over for that walk, and of course to have your two sons kicking off the walk will be a special day.
Yes, it is. I'm proud to show how far they've come and how well they're doing.
And they are doing well.
They are. Ben, one of my twins, actually took his first steps yesterday, so he's catching up, and physical therapy says they'll probably be out of there in 3 months, and they wanted them to be caught up by the time they were 2, and that'll be 19 months old, so they're doing very well.
So they're well ahead of the game.
Yeah, they're doing better than expected.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Real quick about yourself, Jennifer. Are you originally from the area?
Yes, I am. I'm originally from Green Sea, which is just 10 miles from Loris.
Okay. And you've lived your whole life in Horry County?
I have. I grew up here, and my husband also did, so we're locals and know lots of people in the community. So that was one good thing about our babies being the ambassador babies. It gave a community connection.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you all still have family here in the area?
We do. All of our family lives here.
Dedicated babysitters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
That's right.
We've got 3 or 4. We go down the list.
Oh, yeah. That must be great. Of course, are they all in the Green Sea, Floyd area?
Green Sea, Loris area, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, for our viewers, most of our viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina, a lot of them may not be familiar with that part. Horry County is such a large county geographically. Mm-hmm. I think we've got 2 walks this year in Horry County, the Loris Walk and then the Horry County Walk on April 30th. Mm-hmm. A lot goes into the March of Dimes every year.
Yes, it's hard work, but it's well worth it because the benefits that people receive from March of Dimes affects people's lives in ways they don't know, and they may not ever realize because you never know when it's going to affect you prematurely.
Mm-hmm. And so many of the things that have been, so many of the dollars that have been thrust into research, wherein a lot of things they may have been focused on one aspect and came up with a solution to something entirely different.
Well, that's very true because I was on something called tributaline during my pregnancy to keep my contractions at a minimal. And that is a drug that was actually developed to help people with asthma, and they realized when they were giving it to pregnant women that if they were having contractions that it would stop them. So that's a perfect example there.
A fantastic byproduct of one particular research area.
Yep.
I think that happens a lot. I think we'd be surprised to know how often that happens, where researchers are focused on one thing, and then, as you say, a lot of folks may not know that a little prick they get on the bottom of their foot at birth is going to be something that really impacts the rest of their life for many, many years.
Yep.
Share with the viewers real quick what that was like, Jennifer, when someone from the March of Dimes contacted you all about your twin sons being the ambassador babies for this year's Walk America.
We were so honored. We had worked so hard to get our babies here, and one of the chairperson of March of Dimes in our area actually saw a picture of them in my grandmother's office. She works at MBSC, and they were in stockings. It was their Christmas picture. They were actually in the neonatal intensive care unit when we took the picture.
Wow.
And she told that they were premature, and they contacted us, and we were glad to take off and make a team and work towards earning money for the March of Dimes so we could benefit other babies and other families.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Go ahead and share with the viewers about how y'all came through the pregnancy and, of course, the early stages when you originally found out that A, that you were going to have twins, and B, that they were possibly going to come early.
Okay, well, we were very thrilled to find out we were going to have twins. I was 12 weeks pregnant when we found out that I was pregnant with twins, and so they scheduled me for ultrasound just 4 weeks later. And when I went, they did the ultrasound, and there was a definite sign of a problem because I had grown at such a rapid rate. When they did my measurements, I was measuring that I was 27 weeks pregnant when really I was only 16 and a half weeks pregnant.
Boy.
So they found out that I had a problem called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which is a disease of the placenta. And what that is you're faced with the problem that you have two healthy babies, but their source of food is damaged. One of the twins was getting too much blood and nutrients, and the other one was not getting enough. The recipient baby was getting too much, so therefore it was producing too much amniotic fluid, which could potentially lead to heart failure because of fluid getting around the heart. The other baby was not producing any amniotic fluid because amniotic fluid is produced from the baby from urine. Well, he wasn't getting enough food for his bladder to even be visible. He had no amniotic fluid and was totally stuck. They call it the stuck syndrome. That problem also led to another problem, which I had an incompetent cervix because of all the fluid around my recipient baby. So therefore they thought that I was going to go in preterm labor within a 2-week period. And they did a procedure called a cerclage, which is where they sew your cervix closed to keep you from going into labor and put me on bed rest. We left the doctor's office that day with the news that we had no chance, a 5% chance of having a baby survive.
Having either one of them?
5% of having either baby survive.
Wow.
My doctor, Dr. Paul Chandler from Florence at McLeod, contacted some doctors in MUSC, and they told him about an experimental surgery done in Tampa, Florida, where they actually go in utero and laser communicating vessels that's causing more food and nutrients to go to one baby and try to even it out. So 1 week later I was flown to Tampa, and they did experimental surgery, which was successful. We had ultrasounds once a week to show that one baby the fluid was reducing from around it, and the other baby, the amniotic fluid was increasing, and their growth was actually catching up. The baby that was getting more food and nutrients was big according to measurements for its age, and the other one was very small. So at that point they realized that the surgery had caused me to start contracting, and they put me in MUSC at 20 weeks.
So you were 20 weeks along at that point?
At that point, when they realized the surgery was successful, but I was having 6 to 8 contractions an hour at that time. I couldn't even feel them at that time. They put me in MUSC at 20 weeks, and my goal was to make it to 30. My long-term goal was to make it to 32 weeks. A baby's viable at 24 weeks, and that was the doctor's first goal for me. But that was a hard goal because viability was not my goal. Quality of life was.
Jennifer, these are your first 2 children?
This is my first pregnancy, yes. I stayed in the hospital from 20 weeks to 31 weeks, 4 days. I was 3 days shy of my goal when I did have them. But during that time, I actually went into labor at 25 weeks.
Is that right?
They put me on magnesium sulfate to stop the labor. And this is one thing I have to say to somebody that's pregnant. Your body is telling you that it's time to have these babies, and your heart and your mind is telling you, no, you can't. And it is they send a neonatologist in to tell you what decisions you're faced with if you have a baby at that point in your pregnancy, and it's totally devastating. So it's very important that you go to your doctor, you get prenatal care, and you follow the instructions that the doctor gives you, because no matter how much it inconveniences you or affects your life in a way that you feel at the time is negative, it's in the long run worth it to have a child that's healthy with a quality of life. I was in the hospital 89 days.
89 days.
Before I gave birth, and that sounds like a lot, but 89 days is a drop in the bucket to have 2 boys that are here and healthy and able to have a good quality life.
Golly, Jennifer, I know that is a drop in the bucket, but when you're in there and you're going through that, I mean, the experiences for you every day as your mind's racing. What was that
Well, you
like?
know, it was it became very stressful once I got to 24 weeks. Up to 24 weeks, in my mind, I just had the mindset that what was meant to be would be. Once I hit 24 weeks, I knew that my babies were viable, and my next goal was 28 weeks. Because that 4-week period is critical. Your babies are much healthier if you can hold off even those 4 weeks. And my husband told me one day when I said to him, what are we going to do if we have 2 babies at 24 weeks and they have absolutely no quality life? And he said, Jennifer, God intends for special children to be born, and He only chooses special people to be their parents. And that did give me a peace of mind, but it was still a stress factor in our lives that we dealt with every day.
Those are critical words coming from your husband. I mean, just to think of you all going through that together, but
Yes.
you all both turned to the Lord on those.
Yes, it was. He was a very strong support for me, and I was him, and we stuck it out together. He was there for every ultrasound and every step of the way, and we were so emotionally attached to these babies because once they did that surgery at 17 weeks, or at 17 weeks in utero, you could actually, it was like somebody having a video camera on you. You could see their little features, their little ears, their little face. It was an instant bond. So we were determined to give them all we had to give them, and then whatever happened was just meant to be.
Golly, Jennifer, when you think about some of the aspects, of course, when you're lying there, are you contemplating in your mind what, with the idea of I'm gonna give soon. At some point, I'm gonna have the.
Well, I kept asking. Once I made it to 28 weeks, I became friends with the doctors. We saw each other every day, and I kept saying, Dr. Pereyo, that was his name. I said, how much longer do you think I'm going to make it? How much longer do you think I'm going to make it? And he said, let me tell you, we put you in here to satisfy you. We thought that you were going to have these babies before they were even viable. So any day from here forward that you make it is a success.
Wow.
But I had a chain link made out of construction paper, and it was numbered. I started it at day 65 when I had 65 days left to reach my goal. And each morning when I'd get up to go to the restroom, I'd tear a link off.
Wow.
And throw it away. So, it was motivating to see that chain get shorter, but it was very discouraging when we first hung it up and it wrapped all the way around the room. But, it was something for us to do.
Yeah,
a little activity.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
In action, Jennifer. That oftentimes that big question that I guess a lot of women are going through, and that a lot of researchers and everyone's working towards is, why does a woman's body decide to give birth in the first place? And I guess that's a question that's out there. How do you know when it's going to happen, and why does it do it?
Well, it's just like my obstetrician told me. He said, your body, in my case, my uterus had grown at such a fast rate, it had gotten to a size that my body thought, it had started releasing the hormones, and it was thinking it's time to have this baby, but it really wasn't. And everybody's situation's different. Some people just have a freak situation where their water breaks or, something like that. And some people just contract, and, the other people have medical issues that contribute to it like I did.
Jennifer, that the words you talked about from your husband about obviously sharing, reminding both you all together that aspect of special children need special parents, whatever happens. And of course, knowing that you made it past 24 weeks and then made it past 28 and then rolling towards the 32, which was a big goal.
Once I hit 30 weeks, that's when I got to the point I didn't know if I could make it anymore.
You say that, you mean because of what? The pain
I was on so much medication.
Drugs?
The tributaline that I took was actually through a pump. It was an IV, and I would get small dosages every 3 minutes of medication. Well, I became toxic on it. So what eventually caused me to go into labor was I became toxic on that medication and I couldn't breathe. My lungs started filling up with fluid, so they had to take me off of it. They put me on the magnesium sulfate again a second time, and I became toxic on that also. So at that point in time, they had to take me off of all medications, and within 2 days I had them after they took me off of my medication. So the medications, as far as keeping my contractions in control, kept me out of labor for those 12 weeks, but at that point, I just physically could not endure the medication anymore.
Right.
It was too much. But I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I had 2 girlfriends that were actually in there with me. We met in the hospital. They were both pregnant with triplets.
Oh, boy.
And one girl had gone in 2 weeks before me and one girl a week after me. And we were really, there for each other. We'd get on the phone and we'd find out what the hospital scoop was going on and who'd had their babies. So, but your body just can't take, emotionally and physically, you just can't take it but so long.
Have you talked to those 2 mothers since?
We do. We keep in touch. Both of them were very fortunate. One had their babies at 35 weeks, and one at 36 weeks.
Triplets,
both
Boy.
of them, yes.
Oh,
And one of them was actually 2 ounces shy, the 3 children together, of the biggest triplets born at MUSC.
Is that right? That's amazing. Jennifer, I see there you brought, other than the pictures of your 2 very handsome sons, you brought a couple of props there. Can you share with the viewers the significance of?
This is a diaper that the babies wore in the hospital, and it's actually not the smallest diaper, it's the medium size, and I just brought a regular size sticky note to stick on it just to give you an idea of how small the diapers were. And like I say, we were fortunate that our babies were bigger and healthier than most babies in the intensive care unit.
And as you hold that up, Jennifer, when we think about that, either against that or not, what would the normal size of a diaper be, just so a viewer can gauge?
Oh, I would say at least 2.5 times this size.
Is that right?
Bring a
Wow.
normal size diaper, but this diaper was actually a little too big for them.
Right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we had a guest with us a couple of weeks ago, Chris Saffles, whose daughter Riley Lynn Saffles, one of the 2 ambassador babies in the Horry County, walked, and he had a similar diaper which was folded over as well. Their daughter was born 29 weeks, and of course the significance of children who are born in that 28 to 32 week period, oftentimes around the 1.5 to 3 pound range. And of course your 2 sons were born at what weight?
Ben was born at 2 pounds 10 ounces and Matt 3 pounds 7 ounces. So like I tell you, we were very fortunate. When we thought at first, this is just terrible. Our babies are on ventilators and they are so sick. Well, when you walk into that intensive care unit and you think, the only thing wrong with my child is it's small and its lungs aren't developed and it's on a ventilator, and you look at other people's problems, you realize we can handle this. I mean, people, they have a unit called the teeny tiny preemie unit, and those babies are between 1 pound and 1.5 pounds, and you just couldn't imagine. They're smaller than a sheet of notebook paper in length. It's just amazing. And what the work that they do in the intensive care unit, they are able to bring children so far so quick. Matt and Ben both had surfactant, which was developed by the March of Dimes.
Right.
Because their lungs were not developed, it helped them to maintain their lung capacity and inhale and exhale with the breathing machines. But it's a miracle in itself what the doctors and nurses do in those units.
It is, either there or the neonatal intensive care units at McLeod. I know you'd started off at McLeod. Of course, those are so critical, and so many of our viewers, I'm sure, in the PD have visited over there, as well as a lot of folks from down here, just to go up and experience that. You'll never take away anything more powerful, I'm sure.
Oh no, you can't even imagine. And it's funny that during the Lamaze classes at McLeod, they'll let you walk through the NICU and just see that that's the neonatal intensive care unit. And I had said, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to see. But having babies, I was forced to. And not going and not seeing would have been a loss, because if you don't go and you don't see, you don't realize the work that they're doing.
Right. We got about 5 minutes, Jennifer. You got a couple other things, and I want to highlight some of the activities for Saturday the 23rd's Walk America coming up, and how your sons will be a part of it. What else do you have there with you?
This is just a little hat that my babies wore in the hospital. This is a small orange. I was just going to demonstrate actually how small their head was. And this is the pacifiers that they gave at MUSC. My children were actually too big for this passy. I don't know if you can see that, but it's amazing how small it was. But this is the next step up, and this is the passy that my children actually used. And it would take up their whole little face, you know, at the time. So,
golly, you know, it's so difficult oftentimes to gauge. You know, babies are so small anyway at birth, and even a 6.5 pound child. But to think about a child at, you said 2 pounds 10 ounces.
2 pounds 10 ounces was my smallest, yeah.
Golly, and of course having twins in general, that's a pretty big deal. How close did they come?
They were born 2 minutes apart.
Is that right?
Yeah, they were close.
Wow, yeah, that is close.
I was fortunate for that. So one thing about having twins, we have thoroughly enjoyed them. They have been so, everybody's like, how do you take care of 2 babies? Well, it's really easier than taking care of one, because they entertain each other. You know, once they're big enough to crawl around, they're chasing each other, and you know, Mom's not nearly as much fun as my brother over here. Let me go take his toy.
That's a great point. That's right. They can't take many of your toys.
Yeah, that's right. So, but we are thoroughly enjoying them. They're worth every bit of the work we did to get them here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see you've got one on the way as
do.
well.
It must not have scared us off too bad.
Viewers can't see much of that below the table there. That's right.
I'm 26 weeks with my 3rd baby now, and so far it's the perfect pregnancy. So maybe we'll have a normal pregnancy and delivery and know what it's like to bring home a healthy baby. Just to share an experience, I was thinking with one of my girlfriends, we were talking, we missed out on the whole experience of having a baby and then bringing it to your room and you enjoying that part of the bonding process. My experience holding Ben the first time was the most terrifying experience of my whole life. It was, I would say, you don't want the most terrifying experience of your life to be scared that your baby's going to die in your arms the first time you hold it. Whereas if you've never had a premature baby, then you don't think anything about that. So we get to look forward to having the fun part of it this time. But that's another reason I do want people to get prenatal care and take their pregnancy very serious. If they're not pregnant, plan ahead, and if they are pregnant, do take it serious, because you just don't know what it feels like to be in a situation like that. Absolutely.
Such a critical reason to think seriously about either the Walk America in Loris on the 23rd, or of course there's another one in Georgetown at the same time, the Horry County Walk America on the 30th of this month, as well as up in Lake City, and then a lot of the fall walks in Dillon and Marlboro and other areas in our viewing area. It's such a critical time to think about how those dollars are reinvested, and to know, as you said, research, oftentimes into things we may not know about, but recognize the importance of, if we've got children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews or just cohorts or co-workers and their children.
That's true, and people can say, you know, they don't participate in March of Dimes because it's never affected them, but you never know when it's going to affect you, and giving money to the March of Dimes is making the future lives of babies better, whether it's your baby or somebody else's baby. But your next baby, it can be very well yours that you're helping. Right. And that's a benefit that helps everybody, making the lives of babies better. Not only having babies survive, but having babies survive with a quality life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer, did they share with you exactly what's going to happen on Walk Day coming up on the 23rd?
Yes, at 9:30 we're going to have registration, and at 10 o'clock the walk will begin. There's going to be fun activities and lots of food for everyone to come and eat, just to celebrate the hard work everybody's done and get everybody together and have a fun celebration after everybody's worked so hard to earn the money to a good cause.
Absolutely. And your sons are going to be kicking off the walk
that day.
They're
going to be there bright and early with their little walking shoes on. So
And that means you and your hubby are going to have some
We're
walking
going to be
shoes on,
chasing.
too.
We're going to
That's
be
right,
chasing them. Is
exactly,
what we're going to be
exactly.
doing. Forget walking.
Absolutely.
So.
Golly, as you look back over the last, since you originally found out about the pregnancy in May of 2003, as you think back over the last 2 years, Jennifer, what's the most poignant aspect to leave with viewers about the experience for you over the last 2 years, and now the focus on your two amazing boys?
I would say that the last 2 years has been, I'm sure you've heard people say the best of times and worst of times, but the best of times have way overpowered the worst of times. But it is just so important that people realize that a small child's life is our future. And you've got to be willing to take your life and what's important to you and set it aside for a small minute to work for the future lives of our children.
Those are great words. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Jennifer Bullard coming up next. Think about that experience as a niece or a nephew or a grandchild, someone you love or someone you don't know. You heard Jennifer say that. It's the future of our children and the future of our unborn children and the future of children many years from now. These are experiences that you can be a part of. Write down that number, 843-488-3463. The PD Division of the March of Dimes, based in Conway, but they're traveling all over. They'll come to your town and they'll give you a phone number of somebody you can get in touch with to learn more about premature birth, to learn more about folic acid and surfactant therapy and about incredible aspects of life that you may know nothing about and how to strengthen life and further life. Take the time, write down that number, 843-488-3463. Know there's a walk around the corner in your community coming up soon. Give them a call.